So I put in my package, and we both got in at the same time, and it just kind of propelled itself from there. Going off of the speaker that I'm following, probably the biggest lesson that I've learned being at the Academy is that too often people forget that everybody has something in common. I can speak to a home that wasn't necessarily safe. I can speak to, my grandfather was a brick mason. I can speak to a lot of the things that the previous speaker said. If you were standing next to each other, you would think on face value that there's nothing in common. And that's where most of our strifes come from in the world, in the country, is that we're too busy saying how we're different that we stop realizing how we're the same. When you look at the Naval Academy, this past fall, I was asked to be the brigade training officer, which the bio will tell you put me among the top 20 midshipmen of the school and responsible for training all 4,500 of the midshipmen who were there. And out of those 20 midshipmen, I was the only one who looked like me. So you're sitting in rooms in 2014, and you're looking at the top 20 of the top students in the world, and I'm the only one in the room with a little bit more pigmentation in your skin. And so you start to wonder exactly how much has changed, how far have we actually come when those things when those type of ratios still exist. When I was offered the job, my company officer pulled me aside in the hallway and he announced to me, congratulations, you got this. You'll be moving to a different room, blah, blah, blah. And as he's saying this, I was a junior at the time, I found out last spring. One of the seniors who was just about to graduate was standing there, or someone I considered a friend, actually. And the second that my company officer walked away, he came and gave me a handshake, and as he congratulated me for getting the job, he said, good to know affirmative action is still in play. And so he said it with a joking smile, but as these ladies know, Captain Isom, who is currently the diversity officer at the school, he said, watch people say when they joke to you, because that's what their true intentions are. So you have to be cognizant of things like that, and that's probably the second best lesson that I've learned at the Academy, is that no matter what somebody says to your face, listen for the truth behind it. I was raised in a very unconventional household. Before I could go outside and play, I had to read a book. So if I wanted to go outside and run around with the kids, I had to read a book. And no matter if that book was the encyclopedia or, I don't know, the Hardy Boys, I was reading something. So it was a requirement, and I think it definitely helped me. It helped me come a long way. I gave a speech last night, actually, which I'm going to quote from a little bit. There was, about 3 years ago, we developed a mentorship program through my school, and the idea was that a freshman would pick an upper class, a sophomore, junior, or senior to be their mentor, be someone they looked up to, someone they wanted to aspire to be like. And I was chosen to mentor several individuals, and one of the first things they asked me was who my role model was. And it took me a minute to realize that my only role model was myself. Because it doesn't matter whether you look up to Martin Luther King or your father or your grandfather or your pastor, if you yourself are not the person you're aspiring to be, somewhere you've fallen short. If you're not looking back at yesterday and seeing that you were as close to perfect as you could be and striving to be more perfect today, somewhere you fell short. And so that's what I do every day when I wake up, is I try to imagine how to be my own role model. How to be enough of a role model that somebody else wants to then model themselves after me. Because if that's not my goal, then I'm failing other people. I had no inkling that I would wind up in the military. The day that I was put into ROTC in high school, I actually spent about a week in the guidance counselor's office trying to convince him to take me out of it. I have a great uncle who was heavy in the Black Panther Party, and I have another one who ran in Canada during the draft. My family was far from military oriented. So when I got into the program, I was like, that's not really for me. How do I get out? I never want to wear a uniform. Little did I know that not only would I wear it during high school, but I'd wear it during college, and would I be wearing it for the next 5 to 20 years of my life. It is odd to come so far full circle and to realize what I've overcome, what I've experienced. I was an extremely, extremely sick child. I was diagnosed with acute chronic asthma at 2 years old. If any of you are familiar with asthma, it's probably the worst kind that you can have. And as a result, the steroids they put you on for medication kind of destroy your immune system. So I spent more time in hospital. I spent so much time in Southern Maryland ER that I knew all the nurses by their first name, and they knew me. plenty of doctor's visits, plenty of everything. And when you compare that child who at 11 was told you might not be alive 3 months from now, to the student that I am today at the Naval Academy, graduating with the so-called top 1% of athletic individuals in the world, nothing is ever too hard to overcome. I look at the few young people that we have in the room, and all of you are taller than I was when I started high school. I was barely 5 feet. I think I was 4'10" to be exact. I was short. And I didn't hit 5'5" until I think sophomore year or junior year. And so, but from the day that I walked in, I had enough, I guess, charisma to be noticed by a lot of people, and they kind of propelled me. The bio will tell you class president and all these other things. And there's not a single job listed on there that I applied for. Every one was something that was offered to me or that was asked of me.